Good morning and welcome to the Lassoed by Marriage Book Club. We're here at the Greatest Gift of Scripture Supply in Pueblo, Colorado, and we're happy to have Angela Bell joining us today.
Hi everybody, I am Angela Breidenbach and I get to be the MC for the morning, and I'm excited to introduce to you my friend Angela Bell, who has written a book called The Substitute Bride that's in what's called an anthology with the Lassoed by Marriage collection, and it's a romance collection from Barber. And there's 9 of us in this collection, so you'll get to meet all of us at one time or another over the next few weeks. But today we're going to meet a little gal named Angela Bell who considers herself a 21st century Victorian woman. Angela, take it away.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
My name is Angela. Oh, hi. My name is Angela Bell, and I'm coming to you today from my house in South Texas, where I reside with my cat, Lord Sinatra Sterling, the Earl of Grey. Yes, that is his name, but we just call him Sinatra because he's a rather humble cat and doesn't want to rub his title in the other cats' faces. So, along with my cat, I enjoy reading lots and lots of books. Some of my favorite authors are Jane Austen to Frank Peretti, Melanie Dickerson, and Jules Verne. I also love to drink copious amounts of tea, especially English tea and Irish tea. I love Earl Grey Supreme is one of my favorite teas. I also enjoy writing letters. I write at least 4 letters a week to various pen pals, and I just really enjoy that cathartic, relaxing activity of setting your thoughts down on pen and paper every week and sending someone a physical card. I write full-time. My chosen genre is historical fiction, and my specific brand of that is Victorian history combined with steampunk whimsy and a romantic blend. I love to combine the Victorian history era with all of the whimsy and the fantasy and the sci-fi of Jules Verne and H.G. Wells with the clockworks and the steam power. It really fascinates me, and I like throwing in that whimsical element as a juxtaposition to the staunch Victorian society and how rigid it was. So I really love that. I'm very old-fashioned, if you can tell. I love pearls, and I love wearing gloves. I have a large collection of gloves that I've collected from various thrift shops, antique stores, and then I have gloves from both grandmothers that have been passed down to me. I also really love hats. This particular hat is in the style of a Victorian riding hat from about the probably more of the late Victorian era, and this would not have been a practical riding hat. This is styled after a hat that an upper crust lady would wear riding about London in Hyde Park, where she wants to be seen by the important and noticed and catch gentlemen's eyes and socialize with the various women of the ton that she wants to impress. So that's why you've got the big feathers. Ostrich plumes were very popular at the time, as were strands of horse hair and sometimes even whole birds. They would stuff and put on top of the hats, which is that's a bit much for me. I'm content with the feathers, but it was quite popular at the time. This particular hat I had to special order because you don't find many Victorian style hats at your local Target or Walmart. So this one came from a shop on Etsy called Ms. Purdy's Hats. And it's a really cute little shop, and she's really sweet. She sends a thank you card inside the package with the hat. And I thought that was really sweet, and that appealed to my old-fashioned letter writing sensibilities. I have a couple extra hats here from my collection that I wanted to show you. This is the only Victorian hat I have, but I have a few others. This one is a cloche hat Cloche is derived from the French for bell, and that it's named that because of its bell shape. And this was created by a French milliner in the 1920s, and it was very popular during the early to mid 1920s. And this is the type of hat you would see a lot of on the latter seasons of Downton Abbey, on Lady Mary and Edith and all of them. This particular one that I have came from Dillard's on clearance sale. Yay! And I have another clutch here. This one's a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, yeah.
I love to wear it in spring and summer. And this one also came from Dillard's on sale. Bargain shopper, bargain shopper. And the last hat I was going to show you, this one's a bit different. This is more of a 1950s style. I got this at an antique store in North Carolina when I was visiting family. But I think it's more.
Hold it, Angela. I accidentally hit a key. 1 second. Could you go ahead and talk again?
Yeah,
I accidentally put you. I am so sorry, folks. Bear with me. Would you go ahead and unmute your mic? I can't believe I did that. Sorry.
All right. Am I here again?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I was going to type in that the red hat was my favorite hat, and my fingers went across the keys and blocked you.
Well, I was gonna say if I'm boring you with the hats, I can move on. But.
No, just over here. So sorry.
Anyway, this is a vintage hat, and I love the simplicity of it, but I also love this little detail with the sparkly rosette here. And this is really fun for Valentine's Day. I've worn this to a Kentucky Derby tea party before. It was really fun.
How fun to a Kentucky Derby tea party.
My family hosts a Kentucky Derby tea party every year because my sister loves horses and the rest of us love tea, and I love any excuse to dress up. So we have a Kentucky Derby tea party every year now. It's become a tradition. Basically, any excuse we have for a tea party, we take full advantage. We had a very small Valentine tea, and we usually keep Valentine's Day more relaxed, and we'll watch a romantic movie while we drink our tea. One year it was the Pride and Prejudice miniseries featuring Colin Firth, which is my favorite version. And then another year it was Lady and the Tramp, which my sisters informed me is one of the world's all-time greatest romances. Anyway, back to the hats. If you're interested in seeing more hats, my latest blog post is called Downton Abbey Hats on Parade, where I went through and found some of my favorite hats from all 6 seasons of Downton Abbey and featured them and talked a bit about them and about how much I love hats. That can be found. My blog is on my website, which is author.angelabell.com, and my blog is called The 21st Century Victorian Lady, because I do love things Victorian, but I don't ignore the modern world that we live in. I just like to add my 19th century sensibilities to the modern world and not throw out ladylike elegance with the crinoline. So now that you've learned a little bit about me, I'd like to tell you about some of the inspiration for my novella, The Substitute Bride. The initial idea for this story was to do a Victorian-era retelling of the biblical story of Rachel and Leah and their sister bride swap. And that idea came to me, and I wasn't really thrilled with it in the beginning because that's not one of my favorite Bible stories. I've always felt really sad for Leah, and it just seemed like she got the raw end of the deal, and I felt sad with how she was never wanted, she was never chosen, she was always a substitute, she was always second best. And so at first I didn't really want to do a retelling of that story, but then I started thinking about it, and it was like, no, I want to take the idea of this character and give her the happy ending that it seems she didn't get in real life. I want to take this idea of someone who's always been overlooked and who's always been considered herself second best. She's not worth noticing. She's a substitute for something better, that's something desirable. And I wanted to take the idea of that character and then show her that, yes, she is beautiful and she's desirable, and have her get the happy ending without having to change who she is. What little we know about Leia in the Bible is she's described as having weak eyes. So I had the idea to give my version of Leia, Gwen, spectacles. And it was really important to me as a fellow glasses wearer that by the end of the story, I didn't want her to require some sort of beautifying or makeover that got rid of the glasses in order for the hero to like her. I wanted him to fall in love with her with the glasses on, because that's part of who she was, and getting rid of the glasses is not always an option, and sometimes, like me, you just prefer the glasses. And so I wanted to have the story where he falls in love with her without a big makeover, no Princess Diaries moment. She stays as she is and realizes that who she is something special. Who she is important, and she has a voice that's worth hearing and a personality that people enjoy, and she's enjoyable to be around. So it was really important to me to keep that element in her character and to take her on this journey of I'm totally worthless to realizing that, you know what, I'm not a substitute. I'm different, but I'm not inferior. I'm beautiful the way I am, and I'm special the way God created me, and I'm worth loving just the way I am. And so I was really glad to be able to take Gwen on that sort of, some people have called an ugly duckling retelling, but I've got that element in there. But yeah, that was really important to me in the story. If you have Pinterest, I've got a Pinterest board for the Substitute Bride where you can see I have an antique photo of what I imagined Gwen to look like. And I was able to find a photograph of a woman, a Victorian woman, with wearing spectacles, which was actually quite hard because I guess because photography was so rare at the time, they wanted to look their best, and so it's really hard to find a period photograph with a woman wearing her glasses. Most of the ones I found were like really, really older spinster types that just didn't care anymore. But I was able to find one of someone about Gwen's age with the spectacles, so you can check that out on my Pinterest page. On that board you can also see the actress that I would choose and cast as Gwen if The Substitute Bride were ever made into a miniseries by the BBC. Call me BBC.
Angela, quick, what is your handle on Pinterest? Is it Angela Bell?
It is not Angela Bell. I don't recall it off the top of my head, but I have a direct link to it on my website, authorangela.bell.com.
Okay, I'll go find it. Continue on.
So a little bit more about the spectacles. After I developed the character and I'd finished the first draft, I remembered that I actually had a pair of Victorian-era spectacles in my possession that belonged to a family member. So I'd like to show those to you. Here they are.
Oh, wow.
They're really, really tiny. They have, I don't know if you can see, they have little loopholes on the two pieces, and that would have had some sort of cord or chain that they would have strung through it and worn around their neck when they weren't up here. These belonged to my great-great-great-grandma, Laura Ann Barton. She was a farmer's daughter in North Carolina. She was born in 1852, so she would have been about 13 years old when my novella takes place in 1865. I wasn't able to find out a whole lot of information about her, but one interesting fact that I did find was that she did not marry until 1886 when she was 34 years old, which means that she would have been considered a spinster like Gwen, which I found quite interesting. And I'm not sure why she didn't marry till then. It would have been quite unusual for the time period and for the geographical area where she grew up in the mountains of North Carolina. Usually they married quite young. So I don't know if there was some sort of illness and she had to take care of family and take over the role as the mother of the house. I'm not sure. But I just thought it was interesting, kind of serendipitous, how after I wrote the novella I discovered the Victorian era glasses and that they were worn by a spinster like Gwen. If you are having a hard time seeing the glasses, I have a picture of them that I just posted on my Facebook page today. I have a direct link to my Facebook on my website, or my handle is author Angela Bell, if you'd like to look them up and to get a better view of them. They're quite different from the glasses you would wear today. You'd almost have to look down through them to see because the lenses are so small. I thought they were quite funny. Anyway, now I'd like to tell you some more about Gwen's character, aside from her emotional and spiritual journey. Gwen is a bookworm. She loves to read. She loves everything to do with books, from the stories they contain to the craftsmanship that goes into the printing process and the binding process. So Gwen, because she's always so overlooked and has all this time on her hands, she teaches herself the art of bookbinding, which becomes an integral part of the story later on. And I was really interested in making her a bookbinder because I love books so much, and it was really fascinating for me to get to research what went into making a book in the 19th century. One of the things that I found interesting was that most books would start off right after printing. They were in their original publisher's cloth. And then the wealthy Victorians who could afford to buy books for their personal collection, they would order the book, and then they would have it custom bound in whatever style that they like to feature in their library. And so it would really vary. The bindings would vary from one person's collection to another because they would want to customize what kind of binding they had and the decoration and the embellishment. And it was almost like a status symbol because the more embellishment that went into the book, the more expensive it was, which then indicated how much wealth one had. So there were all kinds of different embellishments. I found books that had silver work on them, books that were embedded with jewels or had gold leaf, embossed work. One of my personal favorite binding styles is called the Causeway style, which was named after a Lord Causeway. And in this particular binding style, on the center of the book, it would feature a painted portrait, something to do with the book. So like in my book, I featured a fictional book that was Causeway style, Eliot's book, Britannia Ornithology. I had that be Causeway style and have there be a portrait in the center of a woman with a bird on her finger. And if you look them up online, they're really, really beautiful. It's like tiny little works of art in the center of a work of art. It's just fascinating to me, all of the detail and intricacies that went into making these antique books. Another thing that you would have seen on antique books and Victorian books are the Deckle pages, which are the uncut, rough edges that look so rustic and handmade. And I was thrilled when we got our copies of the Lassoed by Marriage Romance collection to see that we have Deckle pages. I was like beyond ecstatic when I saw these. I'm like, Deckle pages, Mom! Deckle pages! And they're like, okay. We get it. Anyway, so yeah, they're really beautiful, and it just adds an extra element to that tactile quality of reading a real hold-in-your-hands book. It's just, I was so happy to see that. The Deckle pages were during the Victorian era. That was just what happened when they would put the book together. It just happened that that's how the pages would end up. And at the time, it was considered a commonplace. And then after a while, once they invented better machinery and they were able to get that clean edge, then the Deckle pages fell out of fashion because of this new modernization of a clean-edged book. But recently, they've been coming back into the book industry, and I've noticed them more and more. And I think it's because people are really yearning and craving for that old-fashioned look and element in their lives. So if you'd like to know more about antique books or just gush about them, as I tend to do, if you go to my website, authorangelaBell.com, and subscribe to my blog, then you will get in your email my blog posts, and my post for next month is called 4 Reasons to Preserve Antique Books. So I hope you will subscribe to my blog and check that out. I really enjoyed writing that blog post. It was really fun for me to get to kind of pull together all the things I learned while brainstorming this novella. Lastly, I wanted to show you another serendipitous thing. After I wrote the novella, I started looking around my bookshelves and realized, you know what, I've got a lot of old books. I wonder if any of them are from the Victorian era, or if any of them would have been from, you know, printed early enough that Gwen could have bought a copy. So I started looking through my collections, and most of them were from the latter half of the Victorian era, like 1890s. So Gwen wouldn't have been able to purchase those, but I found one book that Gwen would have been able to buy. This was printed in 1845. This is an American edition of what was originally a British series. It's called The Queens of England, which was a 12-volume series. This is volume 8, and it was written by Agnes Strickland, who was an English author. I did a little bit of research on her this week. She was born and raised in England, and her father was very unconventional in the aspect that he wanted his daughters to have the same level of education as his sons. And so he insisted that his daughters have a well-rounded and extensive education, and he encouraged them to pursue their love of writing. So Agnes and her sisters became authors. Agnes had works of poetry and children's books published, but she's most known for this series of historical books. She had The Queens of England, and then I believe it's The Queens of Scotland is another series she did. That were first printed in England and were quite popular at the time, and then were apparently later printed in America, since I have this American edition. I looked up the series, and it turns out this is one of the first historical biographies that was thoroughly researched and based solely on facts and historical documents. She and her sisters worked very hard to do their research, and it says in the front here, now first published from official records and other authentic documents, private as well as public. And this was apparently, you know, we take it for granted today that a historical text would be researched off of official documents, but apparently back then it was a rarity, and it's also one of the first historical texts to focus solely on the history of women. This is just about the queens of England rather than the kings. So this was a big thing at the time. And one of the interesting things I found in the back, you know how some books will have like advertisements for other books from the publisher? In the back, I don't know if you can see, in the back, this one's advertising a little-known author by the name of Charles Dickens.
Oh my goodness.
And it says,
Wow.
now publishing the works of Charles Dickens, to be published in weekly parts and sold separately, including Oliver Twist, priced at 25 cents.
Wow.
Nicholas Nickleby, 50 cents. The Curiosity Shop, 50 cents. The Pickwick Papers, 50 cents. I don't know why some of them are priced higher than Oliver Twist. I don't understand that. And then you can buy the entire collection for $2.50. For this little author named Mr. Charles Dickens. That just tickled me. I love that. So yeah, this is really beautiful. It's got, I don't know if you can see, it's got some embossed work, and then it's got what I would assume is some gold leafing here with the crown, and it's got a little bit remaining on the spine. If you'd like to see a closer image of this, the picture I took of the spectacles also includes this book, and that's on my Facebook page. So you can get a bit of a close-up view of the detail, because I don't think you can fully appreciate all the embossed work on this. But yeah, I was really, really excited to see that. So I want to thank you guys for coming today. It's been so fun to talk to you guys, and I can't wait to hear what questions you have for me.
So they can hear us. So any questions that you have about the novella, go right ahead.
Or about me. I'll take personal questions.
I just wanted to tell you that I wanted it to go on and on. I didn't want it to end where it did. It just felt like it needed to be more. You need a whole long book about it. I really liked that. It was great.
If BBC ever does the miniseries, we will subscribe.
Yeah, that's
If BBC ever does the miniseries, I will faint. I will just be gone. Faint.
I really thought the automatrons, am I saying that right? That was a lot of fun.
yes, that was.
Yes,
and
the automatons.
Automatons. I've recently become interested in steampunk too, so that was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was really important to me to be able to include an element of steampunk. I couldn't go full-on steampunk with a historical romance book, but it was really important for me to be able to put in that element and have it still fit within the story. But yeah, steampunk is just Victorian science fiction, and so it's doing a fictionalized or fantastic fantasy version of the technology that they would have had available to them in the Victorian era. All of the advancements that were being made during the Industrial Revolution, from steam power to clockworks. I haven't done as much in my writing with the steam power because I'm so fascinated with clockworks, but I'm sure I'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I love the steampunk whimsy and try to insert it whenever I can into my writing. Maybe one day I'll get to do a full steampunk novel. That would be cool.
I found a website that had a lot of steampunk wardrobes, including a lot of ladies' hats, and I wondered if that's where you got your hat. We kind of glimpsed it last week, and I just wondered if that's where you got your hat.
This particular hat came from a shop on Etsy called Ms. Purdy. And I did a lot of research trying to find a Victorian hat that was accurate to the period, but also one I could afford, because a lot of custom millinery works are very expensive, and her shop was one of the few I found that was in a reasonably expensive price range, as opposed to astronomically expensive. So,
how do you spell that, Ms. Purdy?
M-S, and then Purdy is P-U-R-D-Y.
Fancy.
She should be paying me for this plug.
So you know we're all going to go on there and want to buy one.
Make sure to say where you heard about it from.
What other? On your little
Sorry, go
On
ahead.
your your birds with the wings that worked and all of that, are those actual? Did you make that up? Is that fiction, or are there actual pieces like that?
No, there are actual pieces like that. There are actually, this is another serendipitous thing. After I wrote the book with the automatons, and specifically the automaton Swan that's in my book, I found out there is a real automaton Swan, and it's in England at the Bowers Museum. It's called the Silver Swan. I have posted videos of it on my Facebook page, and I've got photographs of it on the Substitute Bride Pinterest board. And it's a life-size swan as opposed to a smaller figurine. And it's made solely out of silver. And it's gorgeous. It when it turns on, I think they turn it on for visitors like twice a day because they don't want to overuse it, because it's from the early Victorian period. So it's from the period of my novella. And when it turns on, it's on this stand that looks like it's sitting on water, and when it's turned on, these little fishes start to pop up in the water, and the swan he tilts his head back and forth and then sees the fish, and then he goes down and scoops one up and puts back his neck and swallows it.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Let me see if I can find that. Angela, what was the date that you posted that? Do you remember?
I think it was in January when I was doing book promo.
Okay, so if all of you will keep asking questions, I'll see.
Or you should be able to find it on YouTube if you just search the Silver Swan or Silver Swan Bows Museum, B-O-W-E-S.
B-O-W-E-S, I spelled that wrong.
Yeah.
B-O-W-E-S Museum. Okay. You'll keep asking your questions, and I'm going to see if I can't find that piece, just to add to this fun, okay? So what's the next question, folks? And I'll be right back.
Any other questions? I'm off the camera, sorry. As a bookstore owner, I get asked all the time if we rebind books. And we have one bookbinder up in Colorado Springs, and my understanding is it's quite an artisan craft. And so it's something that I've become fascinated with, so just FYI, Mom. I may need to use your basement for bookbinding one day, but how did you find out about, did you have an interest in bookbinding, or was that just part of the story, or what?
It just sprang from my love of books. I'm obsessed with books. I just love every part about them. And so I knew that I wanted Gwen to be bookish and a bookworm, and then I started thinking about, I was like, I need something to make her different, something to make her stand out and be special, so that when she comes into realizing how wonderful she is, that she'll have something to sort of, to show that to the reader. So yeah, the idea came along. I was like, you know what, if she's got all this spare time on her hands because her mom's focusing all the attention on Cynthia, and so I just thought it seemed natural for Gwen to want to be a bookbinder. And with her father's wealthy merchant business, she would have the money to get the tools she needed and have the books at her disposal to learn how. And so once I came up with that idea, I did a lot of research online. I read an interview with a bookbinder on a website called Abe's Books, which was really insightful, and then I found a couple different, there was a video going around on Facebook of this showing the process of what went into making an antique book. I think I posted the video of that on my Facebook page as well. It's just gorgeous. They show, the printing process and the binding and them sewing the spine on, and it's just the artistry is gorgeous to me.
Wow. If you all are interested, I have found the page. I'm going to present to you. Is that all right with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. I have to take over the screen. Here we go. And then I need to pop over really quick.
There it is.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
Can you see it?
Yes, yes. Whoa.
That's amazing.
Oh, wow. Lovely.
A lot more detailed than I thought it would be.
Yes.
How neat.
Yes, the automaton work was very intricate because a lot of it was done by clockmakers from the era who were wanting to display their skill for potential buyers, especially wealthy clientele. So they would make these elaborate automaton pieces that are very intricate, very detailed with the clockwork, and basically the more elaborate they could go, the better, because this was like their grand display of this is what I can produce, this is what I can create, and so you're going to want to get your clocks from me because look at this magnificent thing I created.
Wow. Thank you for that.
I want to add one little part to that, too. The fact that that was a silver swan. In America, silver was our underlying financial support system until 1893, when gold became the standard. Silver was the standard. So when you're looking at that swan that was made pre-1893, you're looking at something that was incredibly expensive material to work with as well. And in 1893, in July of 1893, that's when there was the huge silver crash when silver was devalued because gold became the standard. So that's a pretty intense thing to be aware of.
Yeah, and that piece is really beautiful, and you can go see it at the museum. I would love to take a visit, and it was apparently very popular on their website, the museum's website. They have a quote from Mark Twain after he visited the museum and saw the swan. So it's really fast. The steampunk stuff and the automatons are really fascinating to me. I post about stuff like that on my Facebook page. There was an article I posted or shared that showed different other different automatons. Like there's one, I think it's in the Victoria and Albert Museum, called the Man-Eating Tiger, where there's a life-size tiger that attacks and starts to maul a man while he writhes and screams, which isn't quite as pretty, but it's amazing nonetheless. So another one that's really gorgeous is there's one in I think it's Catherine the Great's palace. It's called the Peacock Clock, but it actually has, I believe it's solid gold, and it's like a huge menagerie of, there's a peacock in the center, there's an owl, I think it's a pheasant, there's like a whole host of animals amongst leaves and mushrooms, and it's like huge, and it comes, and all of the animals come to life and move and make sounds, and the peacock unfurls its tail. It's just incredible, incredible stuff, and 100% accurate. Everything in steampunk is derived from things that actually took place in Victorian history. It's just they take it and they'll add to it and embellish it.
Well, hold on a second, folks. I have a surprise for you. I have actually found it. Give me 1 second. Yeah, this is great. I'm glad you knew where to find them, Angela, because here it is. This is the man-eating tiger automaton.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? And hold on. I have found a page that has the peacock clock on it. Let's see if we can get there. And there you go.
Oh, can you put that on the bigger screen, Angie?
Let me try. Because it's nice and loud. Let me see if I can speed it up just a little. Here we go. Wow. Okay, I'm going to turn it off so that we can, isn't that amazing? And back to you, Angela. And I guess we'll just go, sorry. And now I've got us all going full screen.
What in the world?
There we go. That was, wow, a lot louder than I thought. Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's because some of those videos appeared to be shot by people in the museum. So that might have been why the audio was quite loud.
Did you all enjoy getting a chance to see those, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really neat.
I think it's neat that Angela brought them to our attention because I had no idea. I mean, I knew some of those things had existed, but I thought they were all like little handheld things.
No. Yeah, the bigger they could make it, the more impressive it was, and the more it showed potential clients how much you wanted that particular clockmaker to be your clockmaker.
Well, evidently the peacock guy was really good.
Yeah, but if you are interested in that type of thing, I post stuff like that on my Facebook page all the time. I've got a steampunk whimsy board on Pinterest, and so you can see more videos like that. I think it was last week I posted one that was it was a steampunk gun, and it was like bejeweled with enamel work and pearls and rubies and diamonds, and it looks like a double-barrel gun, but then when you pull the trigger, this teeny tiny little automaton bird pops out and starts singing. It's so much fun, and it's really, really beautiful.
Wow.
So did you talk about what your next books are going to be? What are you going to be doing next?
Up next, I have another novella coming out in a Barber compilation. The novella is called The Best Man in Brookside, and the collection is the California Gold Rush Romance Collection, and that releases on August 1st. I'm actually working on my edits this week. So yeah, that'll be my next release, and that one's going to be really fun. It's also set in England, and in that one my steampunk whimsy element is a steam-powered carousel.
So Heather, will you be having that at your store when it comes in?
Of course.
Okay.
I really love Barber as a publisher. They do great. They do a great job with their books and the fancy things like the Deckle pages. They've started doing this in the last few years, and they really take a lot of attention to detail with their not only with their stories but with anything that they publish. And from my side of the world, working from the paying the bills side of the world, they're one of the nicest publishers there is.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, it's a company I truly enjoy doing business with.
Yeah, they've been such a pleasure to work with, and I could not have asked for nicer editors to work with on my first publication. It's just been a pleasure.
I'm going to make sure to send this little video over to them so that they can listen to this conference.
So did they contact you like they did on this one and give you an idea of what they wanted you to write about, or how did that next novella work?
I learned about both of these compilations through my agent.
Okay.
The Barber editors send out submission opportunities to her, and then she would forward to me what she thinks would fit with my brand and my style. So these were both. I heard about both of these through my agent.
Who's your agent, Angela?
Amanda Liedeke from McGregor Literary. Hi, Amanda.
She's gonna. You just kill me for misspelling her name because I think I'm close.
You got it. Good job.
Just in case there's any other writers that are watching that would like to know who the agents are that are getting these great book sales for us, I like sharing the agents' names, and in case anybody out there is interested. Mine is Tamala Hancock Murray, and yours you said is I think she's with Chip McGregor, right?
Correct.
Chip McGregor. We'll give a plug to those agencies, literary agency. And I'm looking at a really small screen, so so I'm typing those in so that you all know. So Amanda is with Chip McGregor Literary, and Tamala is with Steve Lobby Agency. That way, in case you're looking for an agent, that's one of the reasons that you want to hear an author speak or read what they're doing, is to read those cover pages so you can learn who the agents are that are making these really great and fun sales for authors. What other questions do you all have?
Angela, you just said that this was your first publication, is that right?
That is correct. This is my first publication.
Awesome. Yep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is it the first book you wrote?
No. The first book I wrote was actually, well, I started a YA contemporary that I never finished. And then the first completed manuscript I wrote was actually sci-fi, hardcore sci-fi. Because my writing teacher, she challenged us to write something outside of our comfort zone. And so sci-fi and outer space with talking lizard people was about as close out of my comfort zone as I could go. So yeah, that was the first book I wrote, and that's actually the book that got me Amanda's attention. And then over a couple years realized that wasn't exactly what I wanted to write. Finding my brand and my niche has been like a trial and error thing. And so I went from YA contemporary to YA sci-fi to NA, that's new adult steampunk, and then to adult historical romance. But I kept my steampunk whimsy, and I'm still holding out to do some full steampunk books in the future.
Nice.
Was somebody going to say something? I was going to say, you know, going along the lines with your brand, I think that's a very unique and a good brand to keep following. I think also that you're looking at things like Around the World in 80 Days, which is a fantastic book with a lot of steampunk whimsy. And I think if you keep going in that, you know, direction, that you will have a really strong following as your career continues to build. And I'm excited to be working with you as a multi-published author. I love working with other authors like you because I think you add a freshness and a fun element to this book that we got to be in together.
It's funny you should mention Around the World in 80 Days because my current work in progress is inspired by Around the World in 80 Days.
Yay! That's one of my favorites. What other questions?
I know this isn't about a book, but I watch a Murdock mystery series from Canada, and it has a lot of it's done in the 1800s, late 1800s, and there are so many things that are discoveries happening then that we already know about, but they discover them then, and it's really fun. And it reminded me, your book kind of reminded me of those Murdock series.
I've seen Murdock. I've watched that before. Yeah, I love the mystery. I actually attempted the new adult steampunk book I wrote was actually murder mystery, but apparently I'm not quite as mysterious as I thought I was. So I love murder mysteries, though. My favorite show right now is Sherlock, the BBC Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch. And I was so excited because the day this collection released, on January 1st, Sherlock did a Victorian-era special. And I was just like, that is like the best reward ever for my release day, is for Sherlock to come back on, and it's Victorian-era. And it was called The Abominable Bride, and mine's The Substitute Bride, so I'm claiming that the writers and I were on the same wavelengths. I'm just gonna say that.
Now I have to go find that particular one, maybe on Hulu or Netflix, so I can watch it just to celebrate with you.
Okay, don't watch it alone.
Oh,
It's one of their mysteries are really edge of your seat, and this particular one was extra creepy. So
It really was.
it's awesome, but it's creepy. It's good creepy.
oh, that's good for me. Maybe I won't. It'll have to be broad daylight.
But it's got a lot of history in it. I think you would enjoy it. I think you would enjoy the historical aspects.
I believe you.
And I don't want to tell you what it's about because I'm anti-spoilers.
I
But I can tell you off air if you want, but I will not spoil anything for Sherlock fans. No spoilers.
I'll pick a nice night with my husband. He likes those things, and
Yeah.
it might be a good mix for us because I'm always doing this when it comes up to intense or
Well, what I love about Sherlock is they mix so much humor along with the murders and mayhem. And so just when you're like, this is too much, then they do something hilarious and it lightens the whole thing. So I really love it because it's a murder mystery, but it's never overly intense. It's got its moments, but they have a good balance of humor, which I prefer with my murder mysteries.
I like that a lot. Okay, I'll watch it. Ladies and gentlemen, there in the store or those that are watching, if you have anything that you would like to ask, we're coming to the end of our time, and I just want to make sure everybody had a chance to ask a question or say something or have a reflection about the novella that Angela Bell wrote from the Lassoed by Marriage collection. And hopefully, if you haven't had a chance to read this book, I'm trying to get the light off of it, just want to make sure that you know that it is available at the Greatest Gift and Scripture Supply store in Pueblo, Colorado, and it's also available in any traditional bookstore or online, but since the Greatest Gift and Scripture Supply store is our host for this online book club, we really suggest that you stop in there and get this book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions for Angela Bell?
No, but thank you. We enjoyed it.
Thanks. We got a quiet group today.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments or final comments, Angela?
I just want to thank you so much for coming and for laughing with me and enjoying my steampunk whimsiness. I'm so thrilled to be here, and I want to encourage you all again to connect with me on social media. I would love to stay in touch with you guys and gush about books and steampunk, so you can find my Facebook and my Pinterest and my blog all on authorangela.bell.com.
Thank you. Yay!
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. And what we're going to do now is turn it back over to you all there to have fun and finish up your coffees or visit with each other. And next week, we are going to have with us from the Lassoed by Marriage Romance collection, it will be Lisa Carter's turn to be with us. And just in case you're unaware, every now and again, I'm going to show you a recording from an author that has a day job. Angela Bell and I, and actually a couple of the other authors here, are lucky enough to write full-time and not have to leave our offices, our home offices, to go to work. But there will be occasionally times that I'll be showing you a recording. I believe Lisa will be with us in person, and if not, I'll let you know ahead of time. But it'll be a really fun time to get to know her, and her her novella is called Mule Days, and it is a romp through the pages with mules going wild in the Old West.
It's hilarious. Hilarious.
Very, very cute book. So we're looking forward to that, and thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you the same time next week with Miss Lisa Carter. Thank you, Heather, and to the Greatest Gift and Scripture Supply store for hosting our online and in-person book club today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.